Very shy.
Yeah. The floor is yours.
We appreciate that. So it's good to see you all for our annual visit to discuss the BOCE's program administrative budget. Just look forward to sharing some information with you in these unprecedented times. Um, just for those who may not have done these presentations before, we usually lead off with helping you understand your relationship to BOCES and the rest of the region. So that first number at the top of that screen says Arwana, and that's resident weighted average daily attendance, and that's the number the state has for you for at least 2 years delay of what your enrollment was or is according to their records, but you know that's not being done today. It's still used in proportion to the other school districts in the BOCES region, and it's used to make up that next number, the percentage of the total attendance in the entire TST region. So you can see that yours 6.48% of the students in our region. So that's your size compared to the BOCES. Also, a number there, your aid ratio with those student numbers, which goes to property wealth and income wealth, is 83.7%. That means if something from BOCES was built to you in that formula, just our water, the percentage of BOCES, you get 82.7% of the money back from the state. That's billed for that. It's not always 82.7%. We don't always bill every service. We publish how our services are billed. The districts have to agree to the way we're going to bill those services. And that's how we do it. To give you a good example, the very next one, you see we have 33 students in recurring camp education. That one's billed not by our water, but a 3-year rolling average of your attendance at CTE. So you can see, while you have 33 students, your current 3-year average of CTE is 29. You bill next year, you'll be billed on 28. That's what your average is. It levels out the peaks and valleys for the school districts and CTE, but it's not the same as our water. CTE would only get an aid on 30%, the first 30,000 of the CTE teacher salary. So it's never a direct relationship to 18.7% of the CTE. Just to help you understand that it's not as simple as we bought this and this is what we're doing. It's a complicated thing we're doing. Another way that we bill is in special ed, we bill day in, day out. So student from Candor comes November 1st, and he stays till May, you'll be billing him the first time the student is in that special ed program. Same for alternative school, which you don't have any students there right now. So the reason there's a 9.13 students you have in special ed is you have students go through a portion of the full. And that's also a different aid category. It's not BOCES aid or special ed. It's STEM aid, which there's a threshold they say school districts can afford, and above that will be called high cost aid for special ed students, and you get paid on that portion of the cost of the special ed student. So it's really capped what you would have to come up with for a student. So that's built different. It's not BOCES aid, it's STEM. And then PTEC, you have 2 students in our PTEC program, which is part of a cooperative service and part grant funded. So there's a 5th grade that you're building. Just trying to help you understand that it's not simple, it's not like straightforward. It depends on what program. But you can see, all told, your contract amount with us right now is $2.6 million, and you're paying 4.67% of all of those which is a little bit smaller than your size, but not. Any questions about numbers that reflect who you are? Okay. This is your current poster participation for us. I haven't usually shared this with you before, but you can see there's close to 100 things we do in TST posts. There'll be contracts for all of those, a lot of paperwork behind that. Just want you to get a sense that it's not a small relationship that our districts have. Some of those are cross contracts with neighboring BOCES for certain services that we don't offer. Those are called cross contracts that we sign and facilitate for you. Probably a third of our co-service district students are with neighboring BOCES or units. And you weren't supposed to do that. So it's just to give you a sense of the business that we're doing. So here's the program budget. And we're going to differentiate this from the administrative budget. Program budget is really all the services we offer outside of administration that really are purchases by school districts. I say school districts because they're not only just our own. We do some businesses only involving our 9 school districts, but some of our cooperative services are purchased by many districts around the state. An example is our software tied to school safety. We have 2 different packages and we have over 50 school districts that purchase them. 2 STOs. One of the BOCES in the state offers it and they do business with us. So sometimes the business is from districts even outside of our region. That's why we don't have our school district vote on the program budget, because you don't want another district telling you what you can spend your money on as far as programming. And so you don't get a vote on how they spend it. You could decide not to participate on any of the programs. So for everybody else. These are contracts for services in the program budget. So you can see career and tech education, that's this year's budget in that initial services is going up 8.66%. That doesn't mean your bill is going up 8.66%. It means there's something added. There is. We're adding a construction trades program. We hired a teacher for construction trades, and then all the expenses associated with that we do in the budget. And also, this summer we found we had waiting lists for almost all of our career tech programs, and we couldn't take all of the students unless we added something. So we added teaching assistants to many of our career tech programs. The teaching assistants cost money, but the revenue is there because students were sent to us to pay the revenue. So when you paid it off, just means where the business was, they're paying us straight. And the other one, we had an overwhelming number of students want heavy equipment. So in that one, we had to have a second teacher. So it's good news on the CPE front. It's getting more expensive. Means more students are going to those businesses. Except for ed, up 4.77%. That is a projected budget number. We hope we'll have the personnel to meet the needs of all the students. We're all struggling with finding enough people to serve students on our campus, and you can see the cross contracts are down. Some of that is directly tied to exceptional ed. One of the things that happened in the past year is all of the BOCES found that the same personnel problem, and they were serving districts from outside of the regions, and they cut it off. They said, we're not taking any more students from our neighboring BOCES, exceptional ed, because we're having trouble finding personnel to serve our own. That's not anything we've ever had to experience before. Well, someone's going to serve the students. So we're trying to catch up. I can promise you right now, we're not districts are in a very difficult spot to try to find other placements for students that aren't able to go to the universities. Because we would love to serve them. If I could find the people, we would. But that's a common challenge across our places. Just wanted to know how those 2 numbers are tied. Itinerants, pretty much flat at 0.26%. We've had and that doesn't take much. Someone drops one itinerant, which is a shared teacher of some kind, and that fluctuates the budget. But we already know we have an additional request in that area, and that's going to be a positive number. When your budget goes up, but someone else has purchased something since these numbers got put together. Instructional services slightly down, 2.73%. We found in this area, districts are, since they have the additional federal money, they're spending money directly out of their budgets instead of putting additional money in buckets of BOCES to wait to see if they need it later in the year. The buckets are a little bit lower. This discretionary money districts put in, just the just in case stuff, but they've kept it back home because they're doing additional tutoring, etc. Non-instructional support, 4.4%. So not that much out of balance. All of those items are simply tied to requests. Any questions about the program? And you could take on a microscope and look and see the cursor on all those programs involved in it. There's larger print ways of doing that, which is good. So the total BOCES budget is up 6.26%. About half of that is inflationary costs, half of that is additional business or adjustments to the additional business. So it's going up $2.6 million in the program side. And instructor services, that you saw in the chart, are down, except for CT and non-instructional up, and that's down. And we also facilitate grants for our districts of $1.9 million. There's also adult education grants, school library system, so there's other funding mechanisms that aren't shown in some of these budget. So that's the whole program side. That's choice for districts, but we want you to know what's happening with the BOCES. Any questions on that? Okay, great. Thank you.
So our next one is the administrative budget BOCES, and that's the one BOCES or one budget that you folks as board members vote on, just as your counterparts do in all the other districts. So that works very similar to the way when your taxpayers vote on the budget that you put out. Whatever they approve, you can't spend anything more than that. This one works the exact same way. Most of this budget is pretty much this, in line with other things. Until you look down at a couple of things, you'll see that it's 27%. So we're going to try to focus in what's driving that 27% because that wasn't something that Jeff and I just decided to do. So one of the things I'm going to focus on is that line that says 799 grand interest. You'll notice that currently it's 435,000, and next year it's $1.25 million. A little background on that: years and years and years ago, back when the people would have a lot more brains than I did, the districts would all. It's a cash flow issue. So the districts get all their tax money in September and October. They have to go to this area in October and November. But during that time, just before you get your tax money, they were short on cash. So the districts would have to go borrow money in order to pay their bills. So a bunch of the folks got together and they said, why doesn't BOCES borrow that money instead of each of us borrowing it? Because every time you borrow money, there's cost. There's the process that the lawyers got to go through to put out that. You've got to have somebody do a bid. You've got to do all the process of closing the borrowing, which is called the RAN, Revenue Anticipation Rate. So each district had to do that. Well, then they said, BOCES, why don't you do that? And instead of borrowing what each district needed separately, they did one big borrow. So it cut the cost of the borrowing down to one borrowing, and when you borrow a lot more money, you could get a better deal. Back in 2008, when I came into this position, they had budgeted at 4.5%. That's what they figured the cost of the borrowing was going to be. And if you remember, in 2008, the economy decided to go south on us, which was good as far as this one's concerned, but it was a little tough for the rest of the things. Since 2008, we've been borrowing, including up to not this fall, but the year before, at 0.02%. So it was like almost nothing. This fall, when the interest rates decided in November to wake up, and we were trying to do our borrowing, it's at 4.53. So we had a little sticker shock, and I tried pulling all my hair out, and I couldn't get a hold of it. I'm going to show you why that probably still makes sense. We examine this every year, couple of years to say, does this still make sense to borrow the money? And here's why it looks like it's still going. So in this chart, you'll see, like, and this is for each district. So if you look at the top line for Candor, the first number is the RY, which is the same number that was on the very first slide that Dr. Madison talked about. That's your size. And the next column over is your percentage size, same thing that was on that first slide. Then the next one over is your aid ratio. So just kind of information, same thing that's on that first slide. This current year, our RAND expense is $1,030,000. So if you take $1,030,000 times the percentage of your size, you get, what is it, $66,000. So that's Candor's portion of that $1 million cost of borrowing. And then there's the almost $25,000 in borrowing costs, which is Candor's portion is just shy of $1,600. The nice thing about that, that's all aidable at your aid ratio. So if you take out the aid that you're going to get back on those, the net cost of the interest is now $11,004, and the cost for the legal is $274, for a total cost to Candor of $11,000. So far, so good. That makes sense because I've done this enough that I just ramble right through it. The next column over is what's Candor's portion of the $34 million we borrowed, which is $2.2 million. If you took that $2.2 million and invested it at 2.04%, and the reason I picked 2.04% is I was trying to make sure that is there any district that actually goes negative that pays more than they're going to make. So I had to get to an interest rate that they at least came close to breaking even. And I got Ithaca down to $637 positive, and then I quit. I said, that's close enough. So in your case, if you took your money and you invested it at 2.04%, you would gain $38,000 in interest for a net positive cash flow of $26,000. Our interest rate on our savings right now, I think, is 2.2 or 2.3, so it's really more than that. But 204 is where we broke even. This next slide is the exact same set of numbers, but at 4.04% interest. So last fall, what we did is when the interest rates went the other way, we jumped on the bandwagon on the other side, not on the purchasing of RAND, but on the, hey, we got money to do something. So we did take some money and invest it, and the 4.04 is a percent that we got on 6-month CD. The 3-month CD was at the trust company, and that most of the banks are probably pretty close to that, and they're probably going to be within a few points of each other. The 3-month was 3.9, the 6-month was 4.04, and the 12-month was 4.4. So if I plugged the 404, which I knew was a good number because we had just done it, and you take the same 2.2 million that Candor, let me back up. The reason you have that money is because BOE doesn't build a district until May. So you guys get your tax money in September and October. I left that thing part out. That's a big section in there. I jumped right ahead. So we don't actually build a district until May. So the money that you've collected in your taxes in September and October, you got it. And we won't want any of it until May when we send you the bill. Because we borrowed the budget to live on. That make more sense? Okay. So anyways, out of that 34 million, the 2.2 million of Candors, if you invested it at 404, it's $75,000 worth of interest for 6 months, which then gives you a positive cash flow of $64,000. So even though we're borrowing $34.8 million at 4.5% interest, every district in there still makes a positive cash flow. But by doing that, for next year, it's going to drive a 27.3% interest or increase in that budget. So if we just brought you out with that, you probably look at us and say, that's not happening. But that is the biggest driver of that whole budget in the change for next year. It's about $800,000 in that one line. Because we went from 0.02% to 4. Budgeted 4.5% of that. And we borrow about $2 million a year more every year. So I had to plug a number in there that I knew would fly. Any questions with that? Because I ran it through and took it around the corner before we got through it. Absolutely. And it's still there. If you look at it, I'm still up, 300,000. But yeah, the big driver this year is that rand money. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the retiree health, the line that's on that line 841. Anybody that retires from TSP BOCES that is eligible for health and dental insurance, the cost of that, whatever BOCES in the contract is supposed to pay, has to be in the administrative budget. So if you retire from career tech, it's going to be in this one. Exceptional ed, maintenance, administration, it doesn't matter. It all comes out of the administrative budget. That was just the way that it was set up back when they established BOCES back in the.
And one of the ways that we compensate for that is that when a district outside of those regions purchases a service, they have to pay us an administrative fee. So that our districts don't have to pay that whole number. They don't get off scot-free when they purchase across continent. They've got to pay a portion of that because of the legacy costs. If people serving them may retire from those, for example, we're going to need to offset that.
So the only thing that I didn't put in this equation in these spreadsheets, and I did it on purpose because I want you to see what it is just within the districts. So we borrowed $34.8 million, and the first thing we do is we pay the districts their refund, and we pay the BOCES days that's in September. So that's the first thing we do with that money. Well, we don't need all of that money right then. So we took almost 12 million and put it in a CD at 2.9 for 3 months. And we just did our personal finance meeting. That's $47,000 a month. I didn't even put it in the equation. That's other income back to BOCES. Yeah. Once we get that, that'll just go back in the refunds. That's for you folks. But I didn't add it for this because that's money enough. I didn't want to add more to it. But any questions with that one? Because that's the one you folks get to go down.
So everything, this our BOCES is in a strategy.
Yep.
Thank you, because it works out
Yep.
for us.
Yep.
Why is it not more revenue investment?
So I think there's like 3 of us that do that. Years and years and years ago, actually, when I was on the BOCES board and with Linda, SED came out and said, any of you guys that are borrowing your budgets, you got to stop. So we had a board member on the board at the time that was a lawyer, and he did a bunch of research, and he said, he wrote a letter, and he said, where in your regulations does it say we can't do this? And it wasn't out there. So SED said, okay, we can't stop you, but you stop. We never started again. And no other BOCES can ever start it. We're grandfathered, have been, how many years have we been doing this? Long before me. Yeah. And SED said if we ever stop, we won't start again. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting with this is even when the interest rates were 0.02, like I say 0.0 nothing, we weren't paying much, and you guys weren't getting anything either. I mean, we tried to get CDs, and it was more work than it was work, so we just didn't do it. Now all of a sudden, CDs, everybody is scrambling to try to get in something that makes some interest. Yeah, yeah. So I will have to say, if we ever stop, I'll be up. We won't do it again. Yeah. Any other questions? Because that's the one you folks, if there's anything else on that one that needs any explanation or any talking, we're more than happy to talk about it. That's the shocker. You know, 27%. When I brought that to Jeff the first time, I kind of just slid it in the door.
Took a while for the talking.
Yeah. Well, if there's no questions of that one, then we'll go to our last slide. So there's two things that will be voted on when you folks vote, sometime between April 16th and April 30th. That's by statute on that has to happen. This year it's going to be on April 26th. There's two things you vote on. One is the administrative budget that we just talked about, and then board members that'll be on our TSP BOCES for Ithaca, South Seneca, and Trumansburg seats are up for election or re-election. So Peggy will be sending stuff out for the board to vote on, and those are the two pieces that are on there. We need to consider. Any other questions? Well, we certainly do appreciate your time, and we'll go from there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So our next order of business is to accept the CSC's TPC minutes that we reviewed in executive session. So we motion to accept those. Thanks, Ray. Thanks, Lee. All those in favor? Opposed? You too. Minutes of our meeting. February 19th. So I didn't remember that there were two unidentified secret things, but that's the way it works. And then the only substantive thing we had when we decided not to merge, we kind of wanted to add a note about actually that there were members from each group to have those two things that we had a sentence in there that understood that the first time. We might remember that. I'm sorry. Any other questions? Very motion to Josh. All in favor? Yeah, that was it. Okay, good. What anticipate that? So treasurer's report and appropriation transfers. Brett hasn't gotten on board yet. All those in favor? down from 8.7. That's up. Because I think that in the report about the workers' comp, that the equation change study, so it is effective for us to stay with policy. Yes, so they, it's in the now, their first, we have the districts, plus real, and the person, small companies and investment reports, and they're affected in notice engineering, looking, so they, kind of refigured and have a public fund balance. They decided to, work into that equation. And it really is a significant difference for us, 23, 24. So we really stay with this portion. But, people will also, did I notice in June that we are, that quote again for the following year. It looks like we do that every year. We keep our premium rate at what they calculated it, $40,000. So, yeah, from 20 to it will stay there, which is short of our, remains the same,
And is that the new math? Just factoring in, right? I mean, how
I was just saying, yeah, so the big change with fund, well, they were building fund balance, so they were overbuilding out. And then the activities were still complicated. So it's stuff, which is what's in the reserves and that. I'm not a partnership to stay with that. The other problem is the way they were calculating funds. Our funds were very low compared to some of the other students' services. The other districts in the consortium, and it's probably going to continue that. But they were just coming back and watching the model and stuff like that. And close to the district.
and they built in a cap of a high and a low.
Right.
So our number was 0.7, but our rate, our play rate was not zero. So those things,
So this would be the ones that you and I insisted that they use to calculate. Similar to the regular calculator, they calculate how the fund is here, but they wouldn't adjust it for our history. And so we changed it, and one of the things we were calculating now, they should still be able to pay it. But that's the way, historically, the person, we're gonna shop around it. It's the first time I've heard anyone say that.
yeah.
I'm not sure it's that new now,
Yeah.
but they did new now.
I mean, that's just, in essence, that's why you join the consortium, so you can spread that risk out.
Right.
But if you're, I guess if you're comfortably under, it's then
Right, you-
helps. Okay.
Exactly.
That's exactly.
Questions on that, the federal funds in? And then school insurance. Any motion to approve all those? Yes, Josh? Thanks. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Let's see, where can I tell you that the guys in Greater Tech we sent 37 students to Morrisville for area competition for Skills USA. And my numbers are probably, I'm not good with numbers, but we came back, I think, with 4 first place trophies, and there's 3 first place and 4 third place, but about 7 awards and 1 ranger medal. What the breakout is, I haven't found out yet as to what students received that. But I think that was very good showing for our size forces in competition with the area 2 forces. So very happy with that. I know that we're going to have 10th grade orientation and visitations to the campus. If any of you have ever had an opportunity to go and have a tour of the campus and see the different programs that OSIS offers, I would encourage you to do that. My desire is to have districts start the tours when kids are in 5th grade. Do a trickle down effect. Set up a day when they can go and do hands-on activity at different occupations so they actually see what it's all about. But things are happening. The construction trade program is going to be very exciting. I'm just happy to be here. I'm so glad I'm back in the
Glad to have you there. It's our eyes and ears. Thank you so much.
We've been busy the past couple months. We had high school dance in January, so that was my favorite school, and then just last weekend we had a school dance in our school, and it was really
I think the first ever Brooklyn 60.
First time that I remember well, we had all but 12 students in the but we had some
And definitely seems like a lot of people. Very busy.
Did you have to have ear protection?
I did, but you could have. Awesome. So no considerations, we're on to the consent agenda. A couple walkthroughs. Is there anything on the consent agenda that needs to be pulled up separate this week? Barring that, any questions on any items on the consent agenda? I have one, is Ms. Woods willing to stay through the end of the year, or? Okay. Good. Okay, cool. Is there a second? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Yeah, that was it. Last month. And restructuring, so we don't have one.
Okay.
The first order of business there reported on our iReady score since this last diagnostic. Those reports will go home to families tomorrow with the kids. We're right along where we hope to be at this point, showing great growth from the previous diagnostic. So, answer any questions about that. Any questions?
You say grades what?
Kindergarten through sixth grade.
First and second?
Okay.
Kindergarten.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
About 369 students.
And I noticed the fall numbers in the 2 successive years are about the same. But my understanding of that would be expected because the kids who test in the fall of 21, it's a different cohort than test in 22. Because you now have new kindergartners coming in and the sixth graders have moved on. So hopefully in the future we'll see those change a little bit in our favor. But we are making progress, obviously, when we're using the same cohort.
And I'm glad you brought the cohorts up. Sarah Loomis and I are looking at this a little bit deeper as far as what cohorts. So last year's third grade, how are they performing this year in fourth grade? So we're breaking that down a little bit deeper. And talking about that. So we'll see if we can find any trend. But yeah, certainly cohorts have been a lot more.
It's encouraging
Mm-hmm.
to see the numbers changing like they are. And your point of looking at the numbers a little deeper makes a lot of sense to see if what we were doing at the beginning could be more effective.
And all the changes that we're making with our intervention and our aligned curriculums and everything, that'll take some time. Grandma, we're talking the other day, we hope to see some great growth right away with those new initiatives, but obviously that'll take some time, and we anticipate that in the coming years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does it give you a usable data output that you can find that information easily, or is it a lot of manual digging?
Yeah, Sarah put together some great graphs. She showed me one that she performed for third of last year's third graders and this year's fourth graders. And she's doing that throughout the building. We have yet to analyze them, but she's putting them together. So I hope to see some trends in that. But we have to do that manually. I really not sure that works. No, we have to manually do everything. There's one output from iReady, a couple outputs from iReady, but we're not by cohort yet. That by successfully we have to do that.
It looks like the joint is some percentage of the 1 year below the ridge to on level, and then for 2 years so it to be steady.
And again, those reports will be going to families tomorrow. The second piece there, the school tool, the parent portal, that I've been working with how to roll this out to families. We see a lot of benefits to our families. High school uses the parent portal, but it will be a new experience for our families. You can see the benefits there that I noted. One of the biggest benefits, and probably the parents will use this most to identify the next year's teacher instead of sending a postage home or paper-based materials home every summer. We'll put in the app or the parent portal, so parents will log on by August 1st and see their kids' next year's teacher assignment. And obviously, parents have full access to technology to take that out and they'll send the paper home, but that'll be a little bit costly, so closer to $100 a year.
Most parents seem, Mathis you seem to have access to the parent portal.
Yes, and it's a little bit of a challenge, especially in the high school, because we all of our teachers are using Schoology to input their ongoing grades. So that's really the place where most parents will go to see kind of up-to-date
where the students are at and how they're doing with the courses. So they don't tend to go to the school or school portal as often when grades come out at the market grades and the regions grades. They go to that. So we do have quite a few parents that. So any of those parents are more than that's helpful.
The last piece on that page is the communication tool that we use, Remind. If you have a student in elementary building, you know what that is. Just added some data there. That's a main mode of communication, and I think the parents really appreciate that. And by the number of those messages, it's working. And the students engaged, the parents that are engaged, 407. That's the majority of our parents, 90% of our parents have access to it. So, the back piece, the new math curriculum, the math team is extremely excited about the new math curriculum. We met earlier this week with the math committee, Mr. Santor and I, who's a math specialist. We really just introduced it, so a very foundational piece for the teacher, a half hour meeting with them just to introduce materials that the company sent us to review. You can see some of the benefits that we see from the program. I outlined for you. One of the best feedback that I received from some teachers was the verbiage that the curriculum uses as far as age appropriateness for their learning levels. They use words and use names that are easier for kids to decode. And so oftentimes we start to kids secondary school, they get caught up on names in word problems, and there's not very rapidly. So that's one piece. There's also the company itself has condensed the New York State modules that we teach now into 130 to 140 lessons in each grade level, which opens it up 40 days up to either review or assessment or center time or just pre-teaching material. And the teachers appreciated that because they're always asking for more time to teach the content. That's one of the benefits of it. And then there's an online piece to it. We haven't gotten to the teacher yet as far as training, but there's an additional online piece for the teachers to assess their kids and to look the curriculum of their kids on the framework. And we hope to make a decision with Chris and the math committee by March 1st. We should have this as a rep from them as well. We want to look at a different program, but initial feedback is that this is a program that we go to. Teachers are already using the modules, which this basically is just organizing the different. We're excited about that.
So you would look at another alternative just have it at that point, or is this come recommended from the district?
It does. I had a meeting with a few principals in our BOCES, and I believe Nancy uses it. 2 of the other districts use it, have great success, and their math assessments at the end of the year show that this has a huge impact on their assessments. And I've talked to principals that do use this. The thing for the teachers was that it was less of a learning curve because they've already taught the content in the modules. And they too like the illustrations on the page. Remember, kids is more student friendly than the modules right now. And it's currently aligned to the next gen standards, which are updated common core standards. Chris and I are working on how to pay for that.
That's our whole mission, so we can make that happen. Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're up.
So you can see tickets, result tickets were pretty level compared to December, even though we have 1 more week in December. And I was feeling really good about my progress until I had jury duty for a week, which was fascinating, and I was very appreciative to be part of that. But I was out for a whole week. It was fine, nothing too up. It wasn't this week, because this week is with internet. We had a few issues, mostly been resolved, and I think we're now on a good track. Spectrum is in yesterday. We replaced one of our modems, and we went, they almost more than doubled our speed, which was great. But they misconfigured it, which caused a lot of problems today. So we got that. Health tickets are moving right along. I had a student intern from the alt school, and I was very excited to get him engaged in the program because I think it's right up his alley. But he has decided that this isn't the right time for him right now. So I'm hopeful that in a few weeks or another month he'll be back. He was very excited, all set to start this week, and then never started. So I talked to him today, and he has his priorities have changed a little bit, but I'm hoping that as it gets warmer and closer to summer and he's looking for a summer job, it might encourage him to start, be more interested. So it would be nice to have some students that want to volunteer, and we'll continue to take that interested in technology that want to learn more about fixing the best. So we're always looking for opportunities, and teachers know that, and we're always on stuff. Hope I'm doing. And then the cybersecurity report, I put the executive summary in the back. And really, the Homeland Security and the Center for Cybersecurity, their department, have really looked at schools because schools have been a target for criminals and state actors from Russia and Germany to Europe. They are hitting schools primarily because they have a lot of data, and they are resource constrained in terms of the amount of staff they have to protect. The advantages that I think we have from this report, the things that they recommend for schools are many of the things that we've already done. Multi-factor authentication, which we rolled out earlier in the year, and moving lots of our resources to the cloud instead of having our resources only here. Having them in cloud services which have that extra layer of their security and backups is very helpful in training. So I think many things are on the right track. We obviously are looking more in terms of monitoring, looking to leverage. We are part of a group with a central RIC, senior, where they have all of the district privacy officers and region that subscribe to their service. Monthly meetings, bi-monthly meetings, and then they constantly are sending out emails to us. Watch out for this, watch out for that. Where we need to patch things. So keeping track of that is a big priority to make sure that we're trying to at least on track. We're not really ahead of them, but we're keep up. So those things, the immediate things that they said need to be done, I think we're on track with. And then continuing to do our sort of policies procedures for incident response, practicing those incident response plans, and then continuing to analyze using the framework that we is important ongoing thing. So it was nice to see that the federal government is at least aware of the risks that people face, and then if we're able to get some funds arranged for some cybersecurity pushing that too. We are trying to leverage the shared knowledge and
Oh, gosh, I guess you could have a notification. Not even off of the. Yeah.
So, my report and then go over a little out of order. So, the first item would be bottom of the first page, so the phonics for reading comprehension. So we've started, we have 4 special classes, those are the groups that we've targeted to pilot it with. 1 primary grade special class, an intermediate at 5th and 6th grade, junior high, and then a secondary special class. So 32 students across the 4 classes. And the timeline I gave on my report is said that we would use the 10th and 13th for placement testing of the students. We were able to reconfigure the agenda from Friday and divided and conquered and did all the placement testing that we could with all of the students that were here. We had, I think, 4 that were absent, so that the teachers could start the program Monday. And I heard from 2 of the teachers that the 5th and 6th grade group got off to a great start. The 4 teachers teaching the program were appreciative of saying okay because they've been playing different strategies and different materials to try to meet the students' needs. And this is a research-based intervention program for struggling learners. And it's phonics-based, but it can go. There's 3 levels. And I'm hopeful. I think we're going to have a hard time saying no to some of the intervention groups. We've already had some other teachers asking for those students in tier 2 that need that reading support. Can they start using it? Nope. Hold steady with the first 4 groups, see where the data takes us. And Monday, the 27th, following the break, Jill, kindergarten, but I don't think I can pronounce it. Martin Colvin, Jill Martin Colvin, will be here. She's one of our, it's a targeted skills for one Syracuse that she'll be here working with the teachers. Just to help us identify the data that we should be collecting and then what if. So is it how do we increase the intensifying of the intervention, or are there other assessments that we could use for those really discrete skills when it comes to reading skills. So it's really on the 27th. I think the next question is, which I've already started looking at, is there some type of similar program for these basic conditions? That
When did you think the role for that especially with that?
So I've asked, we decided last Friday that we needed to give this a solid 6 weeks. So that's where we're starting. Solid 6 weeks, and then we'll see where we can get out of the 4. But I really do think we'll be doing things. I already need to order more of the workbooks because I don't think we're going to be able to do enough. Because I think we're going to see some improvements. So 6 weeks. That'll be the first go. And then the top of the first page is, and I continue to put this on it each month just to show you what we're working on, how we're addressing the priorities that we identified in the district. On the back, I also included a couple of graphs. So I apologize, I'm not going to put that in there. I only want to talk about using data to guide instruction decisions and practices, and the strategy that we implement is running more than ideas. The charts on the back, the graph at the bottom, and Kathy, thank you for helping just try to get this to fit. It was difficult, and it's probably not in the best order, but it's the way that it's on the page and you can get it. chart is the example that we use every year early release day with all of the teachers. And we could have selected many different data overviews, but we chose ELA. That's the area, especially that vocabulary piece that we've worked on for the last couple of years we've been talking about. And Jenny Coco, our data coordinator, put this chart together for us. One, it was just to demonstrate what is a good data overview and to help all of our teachers understand that a good data overview you should be able to look at it and see some kind of story or a trend. This is the first time that I can recall that we've looked at this kind of comparative data. And again, Jenny was able to pull, I know that the print is extremely small, but we did compare our 3 through 8 ELA results in Regents ELA to 4 other teachers. So the first bar is Candor, but then the next is similar SES within the region, so TSD versus. The next would be Tyler County, so actually it's last one. The next group is high need rural in New York State, and then the last is all of New York State. So that was sharing that was again one to show a good data overview, but it also was our data and to show just to look at it and ask questions, and that's what we did because that's the process. To look at it, and it's difficult to keep people in that space of what do you see, what do you notice, what do you observe. Don't go to why and what do you think, me and Josh. It's difficult, but that's part of that data-wise process is because right, you're quick to jump to some conclusions, and what if you jump to the wrong conclusion? So you need to stay in that space, learning an inquiry-based process with data-wise is to be able to dig in and say, well, what other data do we need? What else do we need to tell the whole story? But we did get to a place on February early release day because you know everybody would want to. They had time to talk and say, not just what do you see, what do you notice, but then what are your questions? What are you wondering, and what other information would you need to take that next step so that we can maybe then and try to find out what are we doing well and what areas do we need to improve? Okay. So that's all I want to say about that, because we could spend a long time talking about that.
Well, I guess my question is, which kids think ELA Regents were so good?
Well, and those were the kinds of comments and questions that came up from the faculty. The other things that came up, we have elementary, 3 through 8. So let's say 3 through 6, 3 through 5. That teacher teaches all the subjects, to all of the students. By the time we get to the English Regents, it may not be the same, even if, and that would be going back to Coco for that. If we took last year's 11th grade students and went back to see how did they do, what's the story that data tells us about that group of students. But this is still data, and we should still be looking at it and being able to ask those other questions and getting comfortable. I think that was our biggest goal, is we need to become more comfortable and better analyzers of data. Trust me, I'm holding my butt, but I've learned that I can probably get to a better answer sooner if I have the data. And that's something that we have Chris for. And the data-wise process is something that Cindy, that's what they base their data analysis work on. But anyway, work sessions, right? So but the data at the top, so here, we want to model the process. After early release day, we sent out a a survey asking the teachers different questions about the day. And the what we received back, which programming objectives were achieved, and in the bottom, which topics or aspects of the workshop did you find most interesting or helpful. With that, right, I should be collecting data on how we did. And what I found was that I needed to meet with an advisory group, which we met with earlier this week. So we had 10 members met, so representation from both programs, to talk about not are we on the right path, but learning about a data-driven process or cycle to make those good decisions. Could we be doing it a better way than just showing a 10 or 15-minute video during the faculty meeting and seeing what the teachers get to say? And we have an hour and a half, a little over an hour and a half, and it was a great conversation. They gave great feedback. And one comment that was a big takeaway for me was if we believe that learning this type of a process is really that important and that significant, please don't minimize it when you're spending 20 minutes with that. That was a pretty powerful statement because we're trying to get it out there to everybody, but the return on investment probably isn't that great. So if we need to talk about it, so it's all right. Good conversation.
Thank
So, I've gone through a lot of stuff
you.
in my report tonight.
This is budget meeting before and conversation over his compensation. But we are moving forward, go on budget mode right now, with everybody about all the things and talking about, the next year and really looking at your section of the budget by department for this instructional components for transportation, technology, and looking at all of the right now. We do have that preliminary information with our stable and we can communicate with the school advisory about the ideas and restaurants, property events, family families. We met with the health insurance administrator. He went through our first 6 months of expenditures, that was very implemented to us and where we need to we got so much to do there and conversation about those costs for us going forward and all of the contractual costs are lower than our liability insurance and all of those things and some shifts in our finances and all the pieces together. Thanks, go ahead.
So I think everyone did a great job covering what's going on. A few things that we didn't mention yet. The capital projects rolling right along, right on schedule. As I mentioned when we were talking in our budget committee meeting, this $10 million capital project is going out with zero impact on the local taxpayers because of the way that everything is now. And again, I want to thank the facilities committee for identifying that there's certain things we have to do now. Still more work to do, coming years of course, just like the home, anything else. So that's going well. Chris, Kathy and I had put in a meeting with the members of the library board. And in fact, Dan Hutt, she was talking really performing teachers as a board member of the school and students. But they were delightful talking about the library, things for the community, all good things that we know.
one thing that I learned that I didn't know is how they managed to keep their costs down so low. Kansas Public Library has been dying to close most of their costs and has for years, and that's why they've asked us so little money from the taxpayers, like everybody else, for feeling inflation. So they might be coming probably next month to the board meeting with the petition to ask that we put budget vote a proposition for them to increase corporation, what we can use for that in the tax rate. So it would be something new because they haven't done it for 14 years, but this is going to be, so 2006, the last time we asked for an increase, they'll be asking for it. And then I did want to tell you about Healthy Schools Community Grant and one of our alumnus, Heidi Gates, what was that, Polachek, thank you, who works with the County Public Health. She's been great. She walked us through the process of getting this municipal grant to create a healthier school in the community. Our wellness community met a couple of times, and the members of the wellness community have changed since we started until now, but we've all been great to identify what we could do with that money to make this building or facilities healthier for everybody. The consensus came to the biofuel water. Students weighed in on that, particularly students from Mrs. Gregaria's science class. They're enthusiastic about it. They went out and tested the pH of all of our water fountains, found that the bottle flow was the best, probably because it smells, but we'll be able to zip that.
Will the bottle flow change the pH? I mean, most of those are not passing, that's just
Well, it's not really passing, it's what's good. So all of our water passes, all our water is safe, but this is what they got for a reason. So our water, when it's not in the biofuel, is coming out really safe, but not that's what they're saying. Well, all those things. So we were making this decision based on science.
You're just saying that
The
students
students
like
wanted
it.
to participate and show that, and so I said, yeah, and I'll show that with the world. It's kind of weird. So the water from most of the fountains is a little bit more safe. You live down by the company. Oh, yeah. Good point. That's probably important when you change out, too. Just by the way. Yeah. Any questions on that?
I mean, I'm not laughing, like, that was
I thought it
a
was
valuable.
I thought it was great.
And that's awesome.
Take permission.
Yeah.
I
No, it
didn't
is
ask them
all,
to do
yeah.
it.
I was
Just came
wondering.
in and said,
Maybe we fix it, that's all.
"It's a little pH paper, maybe it was just paper."
What's the library over at last year? Isn't it like 800?
Yeah, so it's a big issue. I mean, percentage wise, it's a big issue. But it's most of what they operate comes from the
And that's
if it was,
stable.
that's stable, it's stable, it's just other costs that are not, so. If they didn't have the money, they'd only be asking about the money to run the library, and this percentage would not sit. So the percentage of the overall budget is not that great.
So do other towns allow that in the short library tax levy?
I'm sure, I can look around here, but, and as far as them, the business, honestly, we have no choice. Education a lot of options, if they want to put a proposition.
I'm a big advocate for
Yeah.
that, but I just,
Yeah,
I
it just,
understand it's a big jump. Right?
percentage wise, it's a big jump, but when you get to the cost of effect and the research and the library, it's a big jump. It's all going to increase in the years, but they just don't get it out. So that's why. before we end too, I just want to give a shout out to board of varsity basketball senior whole community for putting a wonderful display. It's been honoring servicemen and veterans to the community rep coming, the cheerleaders and players, and it was just really fantastic. We had a full gym. Everybody could come in and grab that stuff and share it. Yeah, it was. Everybody did something.
Any official board comments? Enjoy your hopefully quiet week next week. Yeah. One more recognition of visitors. Yeah, what you got?
Are there plans for senior school this year?
It's just a great
Perfect.
Yes. So we're meeting probably right after the break, next anyhow. So we're already talking about it, we are doing summer school, I can say that much, it's gonna happen. There's, Sarah's gonna come and meet with the administrator too, with the data from last year's summer school, and there's some talk about maybe shortening it or maybe 6 weeks, maybe teachers, put you in for a little bit. But overall, the feedback that we've gotten is summer school is very well received, very successful. So we're really on to is that
With that, we do need another executive session, but we are we're adjourned here.